Shabbat Shalom. There's something that perhaps links all real freedom movements together, whether it's the civil rights movement, or Gandhi, or the Israelites leaving Egypt. You have to be, first of all, visionary, second of all, intentional and have a plan, and then there's a third quality I'll talk about later. Thinking about the civil rights movement, some people don't always realize how thoughtful and intentional it really was. The time was right. There had to be so many pieces that had to move this way and that way, and to speak to the public in different parts of the country and the lawmakers. And they had a vision, and once they had that vision, they started to walk. With nonviolence and determination and love. And the same with Mahatma Gandhi in India, how thoughtful he was with every step of that. And then the great march to the beaches of India where they went to collect salt, which was against the British laws, because they were controlling a basic feature of Indian life. But they walked, and they walked in such numbers, also with determination and resilience and nonviolence. And so during these intermediate days of Passover are also about walking with freedom and walking to freedom. We're not quite at the Red Sea, but we're on our way. The Israelites were no longer in Egypt. They managed to leave, but the mountain was still far away, and the Egyptians would come at any moment. So maybe they were a little bit like we are, because there was no manna falling, so they were still eating the leftovers of Seder night. And lots of matzah. And so their job was to keep walking and holding on to the vision and holding on to purpose, to freedom, not just their own freedom, because there's this little interesting fact that we don't always think about, which is that when they went out, it says in the Torah that with them went this mixed multitudes. Rav in Hebrew, and who were these mixed multitudes? And so the commentators have all these different understandings of it. Some say that there were other people who were oppressed by the Egyptians who left with the Israelites. Some say it was Egyptians. Maybe it was a riffraff of the Egyptians. It was criminals. It was also the destitute and the downcast. And they all joined into. And then the Midrash asks, well, how many were these mixed multitudes? Well, maybe there were a few thousand. Some say maybe there were millions. Maybe there were more of them than there were of the Israelites who were actually leaving on that night of Seder night. And they say, well, it's because of them that the Torah says, do not abhor an Egyptian, because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. And that even as they were walking out, they were already in that space of walking with freedom, keeping in mind that they were part of this greater whole. So Moses and God had a specific plan, right? And when they left, they didn't just go in a straight line to the Red Sea. They went on this kind of curvy line because they wanted to keep them out of certain dangers and make sure that they were not going to go back to Egypt. And to lead them to the Red Sea, which is where the freedom really took it to a whole new level of confidence and understanding. But there was also a vision that God had for them to develop during this time. Maybe the truest vision of how freedom comes and that's required of people. And the one has to have this vision to harness the divine freedom, the one that really gives us that inner freedom. And now is to walk and understand what it means to be in oneness with the people around you. And so one level was for these disparate slaves thinking about themselves to interlock arms and march together with love and joy and God with them, also with the multitudes that are with them, as they were going through Egypt, and to have special care for them as well. There were going to be strangers amidst them from now on. And that's amazing. In the Torah, whenever they have, for the next 40 years, whenever they have, maybe up until thousands of years later, whenever they had that vision of that oneness, of holding on to we are one, and suddenly everything worked. They were on the road. When they lost that vision of the oneness, and everything collapsed, and suddenly they said, I wish I was back in Egypt. And so whenever they could hold on to that vision of the oneness of the people of all life, they were there. And so these intermediate days of Pesach are about walking and dancing and holding on to that vision of freedom, and the responsibility for each other and our arms locked for each other and for all those in need, all the strangers too, with love and resilience. And holding on to that spirit that we've been singing, to that song that we've been singing, answer, O God, I am the servant, the child of your maidservant. You have undone the cords that bound me. That freedom is already there. And that as children of the Almighty, that's what it means, are servants, children of your maidservant, children of your maidservant. Nothing can stop our march while we're in that place. Bring freedom, bring love, bring peace to our world in need. Shabbat Shalom.